This program is called Finding Your Ancestors in the U.S. Census. I'm Ron Tietrich, and I am a genealogy assistant in the Kokomo-Howard County Public Library in the Genealogy and Local History Department. The word census is of Latin origin and is derived from a verb censere, meaning to estimate. The census played a crucial role in the administration of the Roman Empire, as it was used to determine taxes. With few interruptions, it was usually carried out every 5 years. It provided a register of citizens and their property from which their duties and privileges could be listed. Jump forward 2,500 years to the United States Federal Census, which is a decennial, or every 10-year census, mandated by Article 1, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, which states, quote, representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States and within every subsequent term of 10 years. Section 2 of the 14th Amendment states, representatives shall be appointed among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. The United States Census Bureau, officially the Bureau of the Census as defined in Title 13 of the United States Code, Section 11, is responsible for the United States Census. The Bureau of the Census is part of the United States Department of Commerce. The first census after the American Revolution was taken in 1790 under Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson. There have been 22 federal censuses since that time. The current national census was held in 2010, the last one. The next census will be April of 2020, which has pretty much been completed, but there are still some who are not in it yet. And it will be largely conducted by the internet, by using the internet. For years between the decennial censuses, the Census Bureau issues estimates made by using surveys and statistical models, in particular, the American Community Survey. Title 13 in the United States Code governs how the census is conducted and how its data is handled. Information is confidential as per Title 13 U.S. Code Section 9. Refusing or neglecting to answer the census is punishable by fines of $500. And for a business agent to provide false answers for the census is punishable fines of $10,000 pursuant to Article 13 of the U.S. Code, Section 221 through 224. Throughout the years, the country's needs and interests became more complex. This meant that statistics were needed to help people understand what was happening and create a basis for planning. The content of the decennial census changed accordingly. In 1810, the first inquiry on manufacturing, quantity and value of products occurred. In 1840, inquiries on fisheries were added. And in 1850, the census included inquiries on social issues such as taxation, churches, pauperism, and crime. The censuses also spread geographically to new states and territories added to the Union, as well as to other areas under U.S. sovereignty or jurisdiction. There were so many more inquiries of all kinds in the census of 1880 that almost a full decade was needed to publish all the results. In response to this, the census was mechanized in 1890 with tabulating machines made by Herman Hollerith. This reduced the processing time to 2.5 years. For the first 6 censuses from 1790 to 1840, enumerators recorded only the names of the heads of household and a general demographic accounting of the remaining members of each household in gender and age categories. The first 9 censuses, 1790 to 1870, were conducted by U.S. Marshals before the Census Bureau was created. Appointed U.S. Marshals of each judicial district hired assistant marshals to conduct the actual enumeration. The census numerators were typically from the village or the neighborhood and often knew the residents. Before enabling self-identification on the censuses, the U.S. Census Bureau relied on local people to have some knowledge of residents. All states north of the Ohio River, the old Northwest Territory, and west of the Mississippi River, created later, were set up with townships in all counties. States formed from the original 13 colonies, which were along the coast, is in the seaboard here in red, and the states south of the Ohio River do not have townships. So the judicial district in which a person lived is important in trying to locate any area within a county. Louisiana has parishes, so there is an added problem in identifying where some may have lived. Beginning in 1850, all members of each household were named on the census. Therefore, you must work backwards from the 1850 census to locate possible children or household members in age brackets in previous censuses. 2 slave schedules were also completed in 1850 and 1860. Only the name of a slaveholder was given, with slaves listed by gender and age, but not by name. This is an example of an 1850 slave schedule taken in Halifax County, North Carolina. This slaveholder had 11 slaves, but notice there are no names. Henry Louis Gates Jr., in his Finding Your Roots TV series, has often found ancestors of famous individuals in these census records, but the evidence is only circumstantial, without supporting records such as wills of slaveholders who emancipated slaves by name or by DNA tests of descendants of slaves. Censuses of the late 19th century also included agricultural and industrial schedules to gauge the productivity of the nation's economy. Mortality schedules taken in 1850, 1860, 1870, 1880 captured a snapshot of life spans and causes of death throughout the country. Agricultural, mortality, and social statistics schedules are all available for the census years of 1850, 1860, 1870, and 1880. Manufacturing schedules are available for 1820, 1850, 1860, 1870, and 1880. They are arranged by state, then by county, and then by political subdivision, such as township or city, etc., or judicial district if it's south of the Ohio River. These schedules can add flesh to the bones of ancestors and provide information about the communities in which they lived. www.familysearch.org is the source for these censuses. Schedules of business also available for 1935 for these industries: advertising agencies, banking and financial institutions, miscellaneous enterprises, motor trucking for hire, public warehousing, and radio broadcasting stations. Now we look at, and here at the top is the place to go for non-population censuses. In part 1, there's an introduction, and then there's agricultural, manufacturing, search strategy for agriculture, manufacturing, such social statistics, business schedule, there's that 1935, history of business, all the way down to part 4 for more information. Here is a sample page from Kansas in 1880 for F.D. Smith on line 2, who lived in Asheville, Mitchell County, Kansas. He was the owner with 110 tillable acres, 3 meadows, 2 woodlands, 50 acres unimproved, and a value of his livestock of $2,276. He had 10 horses. There are only about 20 states in this online outlet collection, and Indiana is not one of them. Racial classification was made by the census enumerator in these decades rather than by the individuals. W was for white, M for mulatto, B for black. If counted at all, Indians were labeled as black in most censuses. Miami Indians were I in Grant County in 1850, and that's the only one that we ever found where Indians are actually labeled in the census that early. The 72-year rule governs release of census records. The National Archives released individual level records from the 1940 census for the first time on April the 2nd, 2012. The waiting period is mandated by a federal law that protects the data for 72 years after the head count is completed. The 1950 census was released to the public in April of 2022, or will be in 2022. Can I request individual census entry lookups? Yes. You may apply to receive copies of individual census entries from 1950 through 2010 for yourself or for immediate relatives. It is not cheap. It's $65 per person per census year. But if you're having research trouble, you think this would answer by a census entry, it might be worth it. This is the age search service offered through the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau provides another age search service to the public. They will search the confidential records from the federal populations of 1910 through 2010 and issue an official transcript, here again at $65 per person. Individuals can use these transcripts, which may contain information on a person's age, sex, race, state or country of birth, and relationship to the head of the house, as evidence to qualify for Social Security and other retirement benefits in making passport applications, to prove relationships in settling estates, in genealogy research, etc., or to satisfy other situations where a birth or other certificate may be needed but is not available. For questions regarding the Age Search Service, please contact the National Processing Center at area 812-218-3046. Their fax number is area 812-218-3371. Is there a 1950 census substitute database? Yes, there is. And the address is given here on the screen. You might find it a little gimmicky because it is taken from Ancestry's city directory collection from the mid-1940s to the mid-1950s. But it's a good starting point to target your U.S. ancestors living during that same time period. The annual listings in the city directories can help you track families from year to year. There is no available census information for the censuses from 1960 to 2010. What can the census tell me? From the 1850 to 1940 censuses, details are provided for all individuals in each household, such as, now this is not in every one of the censuses, individual names of family members, their ages at a certain point in time. If you look at the top of the page, it'll tell you the date the census was taken. Their state or country of birth, their parents' birthplaces, year of immigration, if they have immigrated, and it'll say so over to the right in one of the columns. Street address, which will be on the left, marriage status and years of marriage, and occupations, and the value of their home and personal belongings, and the crops that they grew in agricultural schedules. Now, there's a tip. Begin with the most current census year available, which is 1940, and work backward. Ancestry Library Edition, and here's a photo of their page, the first page, and this is at the bottom of the first page. If you look where it says public member trees, you can go check there. Over on the right are the years that are available. And remember, the 1890 census was generally destroyed by fire, so there's just a few pages of that one that have survived. There's only about partial 3 rolls, and they include hardly any information, nothing on Indiana. And this is what I'm sorry, I just said that one. All right. Does the U.S. Census Bureau have census records online? The National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, is responsible for making census records publicly available. Records are available at National Archives facilities and many large public and university libraries. Although the National Archives does not have census records online, several commercial websites offer a subscription service to view census records online. Many public libraries allow their patrons to access these records free of charge using their library cards. At the library here, Ancestry Library Edition, Heritage Quest Online, and the FamilySearch.org, or Latter-day Saints, do offer access to the census records from 1790 to 1940. You may access these three sources in the Genealogy and Local History Department on public computers or on your laptop with a Wi-Fi. Through July, you can also get these from home with your password and your library card. Heritage Quest Online and FamilySearch.org are also available from your home computer if you have a CPL card and a password. We have pretty much covered everything. At this point, come in and visit us at the Genealogy and Local History Department, which is in the main library downtown, and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you very much.